President Trump earlier today said he doesn't think keeping a limited number of U.S. troops in Syria will be necessary. This comes after some U.S. troops moved into Iraq this morning instead of coming home. Defense Secretary Mark Esper says forces will continue to fight ISIS from Iraq. Mr. Trump also claimed the current ceasefire along the Syrian border is holding. Bulent Aliriza is in our Washington bureau. He is the founding director of the Turkey Project at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Bulent, welcome. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of the White House's reasoning for moving some troops to Iraq?
Not much, I'm afraid. Effectively, the U.S. is out of the equation. The Russians are now the country with a whip hand. The more important news is going to come out of the meeting in Sochi between President Putin and President Erdogan, and the gyrations of U.S. policy with respect to Syria is dizzying and confusing.
And so we mentioned that the U.S. was considering a plan to keep around 200 American troops in eastern Syria. We heard the president today talk about that. He says that it may be necessary to protect the oil. It may be something that they will do at the request of Israel and some others. What do you make of this plan, and would this be another win for Turkey?
Well, calling it a plan, I think, is giving too much credence to what President Trump said today. Look, it's similar to what happened the beginning of the year. In December 2018, Trump said he would withdraw the troops, and then he was prevailed upon to keep them there. The difference this time is that he's actually gone through with his threats, leading to the Turkish intervention in the north and everything that has flowed from it. Now we're seeing one declaration after another, all underscored by his desire to confirm that his belief that what he did was right. And but effectively, as I said, it's now in the hands of Russia, the Syrian regime that Russia is backing, which is in a stronger position. The Kurds are in a desperate situation, and the Turks are taking advantage of it.
So, of course, we know that the Kurdish forces have stopped fighting ISIS because they have to fend off attacks from Turkey. How real is the threat of an ISIS insurgency there? Or are there, as some Republicans say, are there enough other troops there between the Russians and the Turkish to keep ISIS at bay?
I doubt it. I mean, let's remember that the tactical alliance between the United States and the Syrian Kurdish forces, the YPG, has its origins in the U.S. desire to defeat ISIS without sending its own troops to the region. ISIS has been defeated, but it's not dead. And the conditions that led to ISIS could lead to ISIS Mark II or Mark III down the road. And I think there's reason to be concerned that, in fact, the jihadi threat is far from over.
Right. And Bulent, this so-called ceasefire that was negotiated runs out tomorrow. What needs to happen between now and then to stop Turkey's offensive just starting right up where it left off against the Kurds?
Well, President Erdogan is very clear on 2 points. One is that it's not a ceasefire, it's a pause. Two is that it runs out tomorrow, coincidentally on the same day that he's meeting President Putin. And if the Syrian Kurds have not withdrawn from there, the Turkish operation begins again.
So what did we, the Americans, get out of this negotiated ceasefire?
Not much. Again, there was some degree of stability there, which kept the surviving ISIS members in prison. There was no fighting in the north. Ankara was unhappy about the alliance between the United States and the YPG, but nonetheless, it was deterred from intervening by the tripwire U.S. presence. By taking those out of the equation, we've got a situation which is unstable, and we have yet to see how much worse it could get.
And Bulent, what do you think then needs to happen to stabilize the region once again?
Well, if you could rewind it back to October 6th, when President Trump had his original conversation with President Erdogan, that would be the ideal solution. But of course, what's done cannot be undone. It's very difficult to say what could be done to return stability to the region. Now, the kind of stability that we're going to get, unfortunately, is the stability of the graveyard, with Assad's forces gradually, one way or another, reclaiming most of Syria. And if the Russians get their way, that will include northern Syria as well down the road.
So we have given up a lot in Turkey, would you say? I mean, in Syria, would you say?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Bulent Aliriza, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.